America's best days are yet to come. That's because conservatives like you know and live the values our great country was built on. The Heritage Foundation exists to make sure your voice is heard in the D.C. swamp each day, shining the light on a bright future. The Heritage Foundation stands for your values and won't give up the fight because they know you never will. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here on this wonderful Friday. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. There's a lot to delve into today, and we will delve into a lot. But before we delve into the predictable, I want to talk about something, and that's the midterm elections. Why now? Because it's important. I'm starting to see some fraying of a handful of Republicans. And, you know, Abraham Lincoln gave that famous speech about a house divided. If the Republicans don't stick together, and certainly for the vast majority of them, support the president's agenda, they're going to lose the midterm elections. And if they lose the midterm elections, some of these congressmen and senators will have their careers ended. And the president will be spending the next 2 years, as will members of his administration and family, as will the rest of us, dealing with investigations, allegations in the lead up to the 2028 election. The Democrats are actually in a very bad position. You're going to learn on Sunday on Life, Liberty, and Levin from Mark Penn that their ratings are extremely low. The only thing that can help them win is the Republicans, depending on how they conduct themselves. But if you start to have some running for the hills, they're going to drag down the rest of the party and the conservative movement. Here we have a piece in the Washington Post. Significant numbers of Republicans joined the Democrats in voting against President Trump's interests on high-profile pieces of legislation yesterday, suggesting his party's unyielding loyalty to this point in his term has started to splinter. Now, what's interesting about language like that from the Compost, really a bill doesn't come to the floor unless there's been a lot of give and take already between the Trump administration, Republican leadership, other Republicans. There's a lot that goes into it, a lot of discussion, a lot of compromise among Republicans. So it's not the Trump agenda in that sense. It's the Trump agenda, and that's the direction he wants to take the country. But there's also many, many Republicans in the House and the Senate who've participated in this, only to have a few of their fellow Republicans undermine them. Early in the day, the Senate advanced a bipartisan measure intended to block the Trump administration from conducting further military action in Venezuela. 5 Republicans joined every Democrat senator in advancing the resolution, following the White House's capture of Venezuela's president without explicit permission from Congress. I dare them and anybody else to tell me where he needs explicit permission from Congress. when in fact he does not. Congress is not in charge of military action and military decisions. Congress is in charge of funding the military, and if it chooses, cutting funding from the military. It has absolutely none actual role in military actions of any kind. That's what our history has demonstrated. That's what our debate that we have read and the framers have demonstrated, and that's what the Constitution provides. I just want to be utterly clear about this. Now, the resolution is expected to get a chilly reception in the House if it passes the Senate, which it did. With Speaker Mike Johnson unlikely to bring it to the floor, but it gave Senate Republicans an opportunity to come out against continued military action in Venezuela, which Trump and some administration officials have refused to rule out without congressional approval. Well, of course they refuse to rule it out. That's suicidal. And they don't need congressional approval. Since when do you need congressional approval? Democrat and Republican senators alike haven't gotten congressional approval. Trump survived House votes to overturn 2 of his vetoes, which requires 2/3 of the chambers, but at least 24 Republicans voted with Democrats to defy his will, demonstrating a greater willingness than seen last year to buck his party's president. Defying his will? 24 Republicans voted with Democrats. That means about 200 Republicans voted with the president. 35 Republican lawmakers voted to override Trump's veto of the Arkansas Valley Conduit Act, a bill meant to aid a decades-old Colorado River project, a water project. So here's Trump trying to control spending. 24 Republicans joined the Democrats. 25 Republicans, I should say, but it wasn't enough to overturn the veto. And also the Mesquite Reserved Area Amendments Act, which codifies tribal land rights in Florida. After those votes, House Democrats, with the help from Republicans, passed a bill to extend expired Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies, Obamacare. Massive fraud. The whole damn thing is a fraud, from theory to reality. 4 Republicans or 5 first jump ship, and then 17 total. Lawmakers voting against their party's president is common in midterm election years, particularly for vulnerable lawmakers who represent swing districts. Yet the repeated rebukes of the president and the number of lawmakers defecting are unusual, they say. They represent a continued challenge for GOP leaders with limited majorities who are struggling to corral their colleagues behind the president's agenda. Okay, this is a suicide pact by these Republicans who are turning on the president and turning on that agenda. And if this keeps up, we will get slammed in the midterm elections, no matter how low the Democrat numbers are. You have to have a united party going into midterm elections. You really do. Then, of course, we have the war powers situation. The war powers situation. We had these Republicans in the Senate, 5 of them, who voted with the Democrats, every single Democrat, as I pointed out, saying that, if you're going to say we're going to have approval or anything goes for it. No, you don't get approval. You can vote to defund or limit funds or whatever you want, but you don't have veto power. Unbelievable. And there's more. So I wanted to point this out to you, that this stuff is going on. Some Republicans who were against the override said they wanted to signal support for Trump in their votes, while others cited concerns over fiscal responsibility. I'm with POTUS, said Greg Steube, Republican of Florida, who was against overriding the Florida measure. They're not working with our federal law enforcement officer as it relates to immigration and enforcement. I believe that projects that exclusively benefit local communities should be paid exclusively by those local communities. I agree with Tom McClintock, one of the few Republicans left in the California delegation. We've got to stop robbing St. Petersburg to pay St. Paul. And he's right. You've got these local projects. I mean, these Republicans run on fiscal conservatism, right, and responsibility. Well, why is the federal taxpayer paying for all this stuff if it really doesn't have a federal connection? Then it belongs in the states. So I wanted to bring this up. I wanted to point out that some of these Republicans are off on their own. They're acting rogue. They have 1,000 reasons they can tell you why. But I have one reason why I tell you this better stop. Because the ship will sink. It will sink. And it'll be a disaster. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. I want to complete what we began some time ago, our roster of little-known delegates to the Constitutional Convention. And it's unfortunate that they are little-known because they all had such a crucial role even before the Constitutional Convention. And so let's address a few of them as we wrap this up. Let's see, how many more do I have to go? Not many. Let's go to Gouverneur Morris from Pennsylvania. He helped to draft the first state constitution of New York, was then a young firebrand in the Constitutional Congress. He was the most active delegate at the convention, speaking 173 times. And obviously he had moved from New York to Pennsylvania. James Wilson, who is known to many, but not enough, from Pennsylvania. Born and educated in Scotland, Wilson came to America in 1765 and set up a legal practice in 1768. Wilson signed the Declaration of Independence and was second only to Gouverneur Morris in terms of the number of speeches that he made at the convention. A very important delegate. Both of those men were very important delegates. Most people know nothing about them. So I've covered really the roster of the relatively unknown, in some cases completely unknown, delegates at the Constitutional Convention. Now, I'm not going to get into the known right now. We've got all year to do this, and we're going to do this, and other aspects of our own history, so more and more people can know about it. But I will remind you that there were other great men there, many of whom you're quite familiar with. Alexander Hamilton, as an example. Benjamin Franklin. James Madison, and of course George Washington, who was the president of that, president of the Second Continental Congress when they met. Very active, very, very important man. So we will get into a lot of this. And I promise you that I'm not ready to launch it, but we will be very soon. My new podcast, which will both promote this program and everything we do, but fundamentally will be focused on history and philosophy and economics, Americanism. You, Mr. and Mrs. America, and from time to time it will have to be used to confront, challenge, and take on elements in our society, whether it's the Marxist Islamists or the woke Reich neo-fascists. And I've come to learn there's not a ton of overlap between radio and TV audience versus the internet. See, many of you are on the internet, but you don't live on the internet. You're like me. You use it as you use it, but you're not there, 10 hours a day. But there's a whole sort of underworld that spends day after day, hour after hour on the internet. And what you come to learn is there's some very good people, but it's largely a cesspool because it brings in foreign bots funded by foreign governments. It brings in foreign individuals who are very, very hostile to our country and our culture in the entire West, as well as some good people. But I dare to say that too many are actually quite evil. And this is the problem we're having with some of these podcasters who you used to know and used to respect and admire, who've gone nuts because their business model and their grift moves them in the direction of foreign governments, alien listeners and viewers, many of whom are hostile to this country. In some ways it reminds me of NBA basketball. They really have wanted to break into communist China, that market, and with their souvenirs and their clothing and play some games there and so forth, and they see a huge market there, which takes them beyond the United States. National Football League sees a huge market in Europe, as an example. Well, these podcasters in that sense are similar, but not in the sense of being as evil as so many of them are, as perverse as so many of them are, in that they're reaching out to virtually any country, any people, because they get paid, just so you understand, by the number of eyes who are watching the video. You click on and watch the video, the more of those you get, the higher up in the process you go, and the more money you make. Isn't that crazy? So it doesn't matter. So it's not like, let's say it's network TV or cable TV or radio for that matter. You're really focused on a market. You're focused on an American market, maybe a particular age group or sex or whatever it is. And you do it that way. Now, the way the other world works is that you don't care who they are, how old they are, where they're from, what they believe. But you do know that there is a massive worldwide market well beyond the shores of the United States, that if you can tap into that, you'll become extraordinarily wealthy. And that's what they're doing. Little Ada Fuentes, I think I read some big percentage, maybe it was 40% of his viewers are overseas, and a big chunk of that, Pakistan. Okay, Pakistan. You have to believe Qatar, a big chunk of his viewers are probably in the Middle East and other parts of the Muslim world, because that's his targeted audience. Me again, Kelly, she's flailing around like a flounder on the beach, and she's trying to figure out what her area is, but she has apparently settled on the Qatar model. They see a lot of people out there, and so that's pretty much what they're doing, and so forth and so on. Has a perverse effect, doesn't it, on what these people say and how horrendous they are. All right, much more when we return. I'll be right back. We're coming upon the 250th birthday of the United States, and it has me thinking, what will America look like 250 years from now? My friends at the Heritage Foundation want to know what you think. What policies should America prioritize? What principles should carry us into the decades ahead? As America enters a new golden age, Heritage recognizes that this is the time to take stock and to be intentional about how we shape the future of America. And they can't do it without your input. So please go to heritage.org/LEVIN and let them know what you think is important. Without patriots like you stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in, America as we know it can't survive for another 250 years. Please go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/LEVIN. Take the survey on America's future. This survey takes less than 10 minutes to complete, but it is critical for making sure that the America we pass on to future generations is an America we're proud of. Go to heritage.org/Levin today. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin says today what the backbenchers will repeat tomorrow. Call Mark at 877-381-3811.
We have two brand new, fantastic Life, Liberty, and Levin programs this weekend. Now, look, I understand what goes on in the world. There's a lot of football games going on, a lot of other things going on. May I suggest you set your DVR, or however you record, for 8 p.m. Eastern Time Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time Sunday. Maybe do it now so you don't forget, because these are two very important shows. On Saturday, I'll be going over the declaration of war versus making war in exquisite detail, and I'll be calling out those who are phonies and frauds and are saying otherwise. It's important that we get that out on television. And our guest will be Jack Keane for the entire hour. And he's fantastic. He's a brilliant man, retired four-star general. There aren't a lot of four-star generals out there. He was vice chair of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He's seen much military combat action. And we're going to go through Venezuela and Iran, and we're going to keep an eye on Iran, and I want to get into that in a minute, as well as Russia and Ukraine. And then Sunday, big show. In many ways, I'm doing this show, of course, for you, but for Supreme Court Justice members as well. I'm going to take another whack at this issue of the Constitution and who has power over what when it comes to commerce and tariffs and taxes and so forth. And again, you'll know more than any other citizens in our country, as well as two guests. I decided, you know what, let me bring two moderate Democrats on who I consider friends, who are very good, Julian Epstein and Mark Penn, and let's discuss the Democrat Party, and let's discuss what's happened to it, and let's discuss, is there any way to salvage it? Because honestly, ladies and gentlemen, as a constitutional conservative all my life, and as a Republican, we need a Democrat Party that is a rational, moderate party, not a party that seeks to destroy our country. And these two are very worried about it, and we're going to talk about it and talk about what can be done about this. So that's going to be a fantastic show on Sunday as well. So I encourage you, again, set your DVRs, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That way you'll have options, or watch it live if you prefer to do that. So let's talk about Iran for a moment. Why is that relevant to us? It's very relevant to us. If this regime falls, that means oil that's flowing to communist China, as well as the oil that has been flowing to communist China from Venezuela, will not flow as much as it has been. In other words, it's an incredible and important national security issue for we, the people of the United States. But in addition to that, there are tens of millions of people in Iran. 70 million, if Qatar wants to ask the question. And they want their freedom. And these are good people. They're in a police state that is horrendous. And now the chief prosecutor in Tehran, who obviously represents the Islamic regime, has announced that they are going to execute anti-regime protesters, particularly those who they consider the most aggressive, and if they've done any damage to any property whatsoever. They plan massive executions if this revolt doesn't work. Massive. Now, the president has said multiple times, including today, and we'll get to that in a moment, that he's prepared to use our military power, not troops, obviously, but our military power. I would suggest that now's the time. Now's the time. Because they're doing everything they can. This is a population that was disarmed. They're coming into the streets, all ages, entire families, all backgrounds. They want their freedom back. And I want them to have their freedom, too. This is a big deal. This prosecutor said, we will show no leniency toward instigators of unrest. They will be charged with a facade fil ard, that is, spreading mischief on earth, which carries the death penalty. That's what he said. The death penalty. So that means every single protester who they can identify, and there are now tens of thousands of them, they intend to go door to door. They intend to do some of the most horrendous things that this regime always does. It's just disgusting. The president was asked about this, and he made the point that, yes, that he will take action if he needs to. Let's go to cut 19, Ron. Let's go to cut 19, Mr. Producer. This is what he said briefly. Go.
So Iran's in big trouble. It looks to me that the people are taking over certain cities that nobody thought were really possible just a few weeks ago. We're watching the situation very carefully. I've made the statement very strongly that if they start killing people like they have in the past, we will get involved. We'll be hitting them very hard where it hurts. And that doesn't mean boots on the ground, but it means hitting them very, very hard where it hurts. So we don't want that to happen. There have been cases like this where President Obama totally backed down. But this is something pretty incredible that's happening in Iran. It's an amazing thing to watch. They've done a bad job. They've treated their people very badly, and now they're being paid back. So let's see what happens. We're watching it. We're watching it very closely.
All right. And I trust the president completely in this regard. And to me, it's time to pull the trigger. That's just me. Because they took out all the internet, and the last time they did that, they started slaughtering people, making it difficult to get communications out to the rest of the world. And so you have these precious people, these young girls and guys and these families and the elderly taken to the streets. I have no doubt that there's slaughter, additional slaughter taking place. They've already arrested thousands, just so you know. When they take them into those prisons, most of them don't come out. This is a horrendous regime under the name of Islam. Horrendous. President yesterday on Fox News. Cut 1, Mr. Producer, with our buddy Sean Hannity. Go.
Are you following the protesting that is taking place all over the country of Iran?
Yeah,
now?
I'm following it very
closely. And have you read that the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has a plan B to go to Russia?
Or someplace, yeah. He's looking to go someplace.
Do you believe that Iran, you think the country is on the verge of collapsing?
Well, it could be. I mean, what they've done is in the past, they've started shooting the hell out of people, and all of a sudden people without any weapons whatsoever are standing there and you have machine guns gunning them down, or they grab them, take them to prisons and then hang them and kill them. So they played rough, and I said, if they do that, we're going to hit them very hard. Well, we're going to hit them hard. We're ready to do it. If they do that, we're going to hit them hard. And so far, for the most part, there's been some of it, but for the most part, they haven't. There have been people killed. Some of them, the crowds are so big that some of them have had really, were stomped on. Literally, it was terrible. The crowds are just, they're massive. The enthusiasm to overturn that regime is incredible. But there's been people killed, but it's more from death by, it's literally stomping. It's
not anymore, though. Now it's the regime killing people in the streets and grabbing them, particularly girls. They love to torture girls and women and dragging them into prisons and so forth. There's more of that going on than I think people dying underfoot from the mobs. I'm sure there's some of it, but I don't think that's most of it. And so now you see what's taking place in Iran. Now, there's no question that the setting for this was created by the Prime Minister of Israel and the IDF, the country of Israel, when it literally defeated militarily Iran in 12 days. A massive accomplishment. And when our president ordered our incredible bombers to take out their nuclear sites. This laid the foundation for the ability of people to rise up if they chose to. Now they've risen up. We've said that we will help protect them, and I feel like that shoe has dropped. It's time. If not tonight, over the weekend. I have no inside information, but that's something I believe in. You will notice, I think, that most of the media have underplayed this. Of course, in the spurts in a staccato way. They'll put out a little bit of information, but they don't treat this as a major event. It is a major event. It's a big deal. And I feel part of the reason is you have the Marxist Islamist crowd that is really supports the regime, and then you have the woke right neo-fascists who also support the regime. In fact, their leader, Qatar, as you may remember, interviewed the president of that regime, basically another kiss-butt interview. And I will remind you that Qatar is allied with Iran. They have shared oil reserves, among other things. And so you have all that going on in the background. You've got all that going on in the background. But to me, it's a really simple thing. That if this regime falls, we are safe from this regime. The whole worldwide network in terrorism will not be eliminated, but it will be severely damaged. Tens of millions of people in Iran, the Persian people, who are more Western than they are any of the rest of this, they will be freed, and you'll have a free Iran that will contribute to society. You'll have a free Iran that will be aligned with us, not communist China and Russia and North Korea. These are all very, very positive things. Mr. Producer posted something today. I'm a little bashful about it. It was very kind of him. You know, ladies and gentlemen, there was a big battle over this, whether the United States should greenlight Israel's war against Iran, and then whether or not the United States should bomb their nuclear sites. Those of you who've listened to this program for at least 10 months know that we led this battle. I didn't choose to lead the battle. It was just something I believed in. And so we came under an unrelenting attack by the woke right neo-fascists, the Qatarites, the Iranianites, the Russiaites. They're all one and the same. Relative handful of isolationists who would have this country diminished as a superpower, endangering the people of this country. It was a hell of a battle, and it still is. And when that battle broke out, I can count on one hand the number of people, friends and allies, who decided to jump in. Now, if you go on the internet, you got a lot of internet generals and fighters on there who post things, talking back and forth to each other. Some of them are very cool. Some of them are really nuts. And somehow they think that's battling the woke right neo-fascists. No, that's just posting. That's not battling anything. And so I took it upon myself as part of my responsibility as an American citizen and somebody behind a microphone and a camera, having spent my entire life fighting against these enemies and for our republic and our allies, to do something about it. And that's what we did. And I'm proud of you folks in this audience for standing by me, and I stand by you. I'm blessed to have you. Make no mistake about it. That was a very solemn and lonely period. But we didn't care, did we? You do what's right. That's what you do. And now this movement against this element of our society, the Marxist Islamists and the woke right neo-fascists, this movement against these forces is real. It started with you right here. And we're not going to stop. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, I have a question for you. Do you believe America's best days are still ahead? With the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence coming up in less than a year, my friends at the Heritage Foundation are taking stock of the current situation, and they need your input. They've launched a survey on America's future to gauge how Americans feel right now about where we are as a nation and where we're headed in the next 250 years. You know, for decades, your American values have been under attack, but now, with President Trump's administration in office, we have an opportunity opportunity to turn the tide and usher in a new golden age for America. But the Heritage Foundation needs to hear from you. What policies do patriots like you most care about? What do you believe are the defining principles of America? What legacy do you believe we should pass on to the next generation? Please visit heritage.org/Levin today and share your feedback and help shape the future of America. That's heritage.org/LEVIN. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. All right. God, I love that. All right. Okie dokie. I shall return. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Something interesting going on, actually deplorable going on in California, and that is the soon-to-be imposition of a wealth tax. A wealth tax. One-time 5% wealth tax on all that you own. I think if you're a billionaire. Now, that may sound great, but it's not great. Number one, it's immoral. Look what the government does with our money. Look at the slop and the mess and just the endless people at the public trough. Look what they do to our money. It's not righteous to give the government more money than it knows how to use. It's not righteous to take money from people, I don't care how rich or poor they are, because they sloganeer their way into equality and, what's right and so forth. It's all BS. It's all BS. Now, here in the New York Post, Sergey Brin joins fellow Google co-founder Larry Page in cutting California ties ahead of threatened billionaire tax report. So what are they doing? In America, you can still get up and move to another state. I don't know how long that'll last. Sergey Brin is reportedly pulling back from California, joining Google co-founder Larry Page and other billionaires and paring ties to the state before voters decide later this year whether to impose a steep wealth tax. Isn't that something? So the mob gets to vote on whether you get to keep your money. I'm sure the founders would be thrilled with that. Last month, an entity connected to Brin terminated or relocated 15 California limited liability companies that oversee some of his business interests and investments, according to documents reviewed by the New York Slimes. 7 of those 15, including those that appear to manage one of Brin's super yachts and his interest in private air terminal at San Jose's International Airport, were converted into Nevada companies 10 days before Christmas. Brin's pullback follows similar steps by Page, whose California footprint has shrunk even more dramatically. More than 45 California LLCs tied to Page have recently filed to become inactive or move out of state, and a trust connected to him purchased a $71.9 million mansion in Miami's Coconut Grove neighborhood, according to state records and a deed review by the Times. So this is a windfall for states like Florida, a windfall. The moves come as California weighs a ballot initiative that would impose a one-time 5% tax on residents worth more than $1 billion, a proposal backed by a powerful healthcare union, you see, that would apply retroactively. Think about this. A 5% wealth tax applied retroactively. Is that America? And if they can do it to a billionaire, and these guys have muscle, imagine what they could do to you. Imagine. And they're going to do it to you. They're going to do it to you. Because I don't care how many billionaires there are, their wealth does not match all of ours. It just doesn't. It's a proposal backed by this powerful union that would apply retroactively for people living in the state as of January 1, 2026. So it applies retroactively. So that's why they're getting out or moving things out as fast as they can. And who the hell could blame them? Who could blame them? They would give effective taxpayers 5 years to pay. Now, Google was founded in 1998. And by the way, look at the impact on entrepreneurship. Many of these entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley and elsewhere, they want to become billionaires. That's fine. But they're not going to want to become billionaires in California. So Google was founded by Page and Bin in 1998. Two Stanford University PhD candidates who developed a new approach to the internet search process. They worked out of a dorm room. You've heard stories like this your whole life. And later a friend's garage in Menlo Park, California, the pair built a search engine that ranked web pages based on links pointing to them, an idea that became the backbone of Google's page rank algorithm. The company incorporated that September after securing an initial $100,000 check from Sun Microsystems co-founder Andy Bechtolsheim, quickly outperformed rivals and helped turn Google into one of the defining forces of Silicon Valley's internet boom. Look, like it or not, one of the defining forces of our economic system. And what began as an academic research project grew into a global tech giant now worth $4 trillion, cementing Page and Brin as two of the most influential and wealthiest figures in modern business. They rank among the richest people on the planet. Page sits at number 2 on the Bloomberg billionaires list at $279 billion. Brin ranks number 4, $259 billion. And you might say, when's enough enough? How much do they need? Folks, they're not using it for themselves. It's impossible to spend that kind of money. Can you imagine, Mr. Producer? It's an impossibility. So they invest. They expand. That's how their minds work. They want to keep creating and developing and producing. What, we should give it to the Somalis? What, we should give it to Mondami to take that money and redistribute wealth? I mean, seriously, that's your choice, government or the private sector. Their combined fortune, roughly $535 billion, places them in a league of their own and makes them two of the single biggest potential targets of California's proposed billionaire tax. Now, I want you to think about this. Let's put those together, $538 billion. So 10% of that is $53.8 billion, right? And half of that is what, $27 billion that they would have to cough up to the government of California, which would immediately use it and spend it within 3, 4, 5 years, and it'd be gone in a poof. Whatever happened to that cigarette money? Whatever happened to those deals where they shook down the tobacco companies for hundreds of billions of dollars? Where did that money go? It's gone in a puff of cigarette smoke. It's gone. They just shake down artists in government. And then when you find out all this fraud, as they are in Minnesota, they get defensive. What, are you a bigot? What, are you racist? Other prominent billionaires have already relocated or openly weighed exits as the proposal has gained traction. Peter Thiel, this is JD's buddy, the PayPal co-founder, has expanded his presence in Florida, opening a Miami office for his investment firm. Billionaire venture capitalist David Sachs, one of these isolationists, relocated from San Francisco to Austin, Texas. I want to welcome all these left-wing Democrats who are now Republicans and MAGA from California, San Francisco, other parts, Silicon Valley, into America's conservative heartland, places like Florida and Texas. Tech investor, I can't pronounce that, has publicly said he's giving serious consideration to moving to Texas. Notice they're not moving to New York or Illinois or Rhode Island or Massachusetts. Wealth manager Devesh Mahan or Macan, whatever, told Bloomberg News earlier this week as many as 15 to 20 additional billionaire families could leave California if the tax is approved. And they're not going to blue states, are they? That would take a big chunk out of the tax base for the Golden State, home to roughly 200 billionaires. You know what? Unfortunately, California is going to have to collapse before it comes back, which is so depressing. So depressing. So many fantastic things were invented there and produced there, and so many wonderful, wonderful people are from there. It's just terrible. If these Democrats can take a state like California and turn it into the third world, which is what they've done, and they do it without apology, they're self-righteous about it. Self-righteous about it. That's the plan for the entire country. This is why we will fight this Newsom. We will fight him politically. We will fight him on the air, tooth and nail, which is why the Republicans better have a very, very strong nominee who we can get behind and get excited about. And don't ask me who that is right now. I've already told you I don't believe in coronations. So if the Veep wants it, he's going to have to fight for it like everybody else. And that's the way it should be, because they have to be capable of muscling through a primary in order to win a general. We can't have a Kamala Harris situation. Period. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
If your credit card balance is freaking you out after all the holiday spending, I have something that can save you money right now. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk Saver Plan. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super-fast nationwide 5G network. As a veteran-led company that cares about giving back to those who serve, if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. The easiest way to free up cash flow is to reduce your monthly recurring bills. Start with cutting overpriced wireless and switching to my wireless company. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and make the switch today in as little as 10 minutes. Again, talk, text, and data just $20 a month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk is America's wireless company. Welcome back, America. Oh, this show goes quickly. Don't forget this weekend, Life, Liberty, and Levin, 8 p.m. Saturday, 8 p.m. Sunday. 2 fresh, brand new programs are going to be fantastic. I know you're going to love them. We have big-time ratings on our Fox show, as we do throughout all of our platforms and so forth. And we very much appreciate you. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we have in New York a really grotesque person who serves as the mayor with his big, overwhelming 52% of the vote. And he's turning out to be worse than you could even imagine. And protestors, thugs, not protesters, thugs, decided that they would come and be as loud as they possibly could in Queens, New York, outside of what we call a yeshiva. And the yeshiva and a synagogue. And they weren't there supporting, quote-unquote, the Palestinians. They were openly supporting Hamas, which is a terrorist organization recognized as one by the United States. And so my question is, will the administration be looking at video and photos of these people and deporting them? And if some of them have been granted citizenship under false representations and pretenses, can't we challenge that? Because this has to be done now. We got to get rid of these bastards. That's right, I said it. 10 seconds. Listen to this. Cut 2. Go. It goes on and on, loud with the drums and the bullhorns and the whatever they're doing. We support Hamas here. So these are Islamists. These are jihadis in our country. God knows how many throughout our country. 25 years after 9/11. 25 years after 9/11. Can you believe it? Can you believe it, America? And they're building strongholds in Texas, in Houston, in Plano, Texas, in Tampa, Florida. They've got a stronghold in Michigan, areas of Michigan, Dearbornistan being one of them. Throughout the state of New Jersey, Patterson, New Jersey, among others, and so many other locations now I can't even name them all. They are embraced by the Democrat Party, by these governors, by these mayors. You've got the fusion of Marxist billionaires. I know it sounds oxymoronic, but it is what it is. Control freaks, power hungry, and Islamists. And I'll say it again. They can quote others, but you here who've been here for years and years, you know where this comes from. Me and my books and this microphone and TV. Americanism is incompatible with Islamism. The Judeo-Christian value system is incompatible with Islamism. Islamism, more jihadism, doesn't seek coexistence, tolerance, diversity. It seeks to conquer, to compel, to impose. How many damn times do I have to say it? What are our politicians doing, local, state, and federal, to take care of this? And if the Democrat Party's behind this, it has to be crushed. This can't go on this way or we're going to lose everything. They've lost London. They've lost Paris. They've lost the whole damn country of Canada and Australia. And we're losing. We just lost the biggest city in the United States of America. It's not going to stay there. They're going after Houston, one of the biggest cities in the United States of America. Suburbs, rural area, cities. We know this is intentional because they've told us it's intentional. Their imams tell us. Their scholars tell us. Their essays and their books tell us. What the hell's it going to take? Sick. When you see Bernie Sanders and Mondami, there it is right there. There's the fusion. It's right there. Sanders is a Stalinist. When you see Raskin, Jamie Raskin, with Tlaib and Omar, there it is right there. Right there. It's really shocking. The Democrat Party's been devoured. This is one of the things that we discuss on the Sunday show on Life, Liberty, and Levin on Fox. We're going to discuss it this Sunday with two patriotic Democrats who are scared to death about what's going on, and they confront this and they're arguing for it. They're very brave. They're very brave. This effort by these Democrat mayors, this effort by these Democrat governors, this effort by these Democrat attorneys general and DAs and sheriffs to prevent ICE from entering areas, getting the people that need to be gotten and removing them from the country, this is part and parcel of the whole Democrat Party movement. My last three books, On Power, The Democrat Party Hates America, and American Marxism. Those three books. American Marxism, my second longest book. The Democrat Party Hates America, my longest book. And On Power, my shortest book. I explain it in every way I know how. Some of it is heavy. Some of it is plain English. I've tried every approach I can think of when I sit down and write these books. And here it is. And here it is. And then we have the saboteurs standing behind us, the woke right neo-Nazis who have thrown in with the Marxist Islamists. I'll be right back. If your credit card balance is freaking you out after all the holiday spending, I have something that can save you money right now. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk Saver Plan. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super-fast nationwide 5G network. As a veteran-led company that cares about giving back to those who serve, if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. The easiest way to free up cash flow is to reduce your monthly recurring bills. Start with cutting overpriced wireless and switching to my wireless company. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and make the switch today in as little as 10 minutes. Again, talk, text, and data just $20 a month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk is America's wireless company.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
All right. Let's see here. I wanted to get to a few other things here. Bear with me. So, we have a psycho leftist who calls for war against ICE agents. And he says he'll bring a gun the next time he protests. You see, this is the problem. The left is extraordinarily violent. They've always been violent. They started the Civil War. Segregation, lynching. Well, Mark, that's not the left. Well, you understand. Democrats. Violent, 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 violent. So this guy says, with ICE, he's going to bring a gun. And then people go, oh, look, ICE is out there killing everybody. It's sick. And these Democrat politicians are the ones really pushing. I want you to listen to this. It's the last cut, Mr. Producer, cut 20. And this is a leftist protester in Minnesota. Go.
And murdering people for trying to flee and for obeying a command to leave the area, and then shooting her in the face like that after she drops her kid off at school. We have to show up with guns. We have to. There's no other way around it. I don't care if I don't have a Minnesota carry permit. I'm unarmed right now, but this is the last time I show up to face these guys without a weapon. There's no way. I got shot with a pepper ball 5 minutes after walking in here. I never laid a finger on them. I never raised a hand to them. I've only been using my...
What are you doing there, a-hole? Listen to how you're talking. We know who you are and what you are. All of a sudden, they're for guns. Listen to these people on the left. Listen to Mondami, what he's doing. Hell, he's undermining the cops. Hell, he's weakening the rules to protect Jews. Hell, he's permitting the Islamists who are supporting Hamas to terrorize Jews. Look what's going on. Look what's going on. Go ahead.
The time for speaking is over. The time for niceties is over. The time for peace is over. They fired the first shot. It is time to end this by any means necessary.
You see that? Hold on now. See that? Folks, this is serious. This is deadly serious, what these people think, what they want to do. Violence. It's gone from bricks and frozen water bottles and Antifa, baseball bats. Now they're talking about guns. Guns. And what do these Democrat mayors do in these cities? Go ahead. Let's finish with him.
I mean, you're talking about, potentially going to a dark place in this country. Do you foresee...
We're there. This is the dark place. This is the dark time. We have people being sent to Salvadorian concentration camps. We got other countries being raided for their oil. We're in the dark time.
How much you want to bet this guy's a Democrat? And doesn't he sound like an elected Democrat? The language promoting violence, gaslighting, that comes out of the mouth every Sunday on these Sunday so-called news shows by these Democrats, by the Chris Murphys, by the AOCs, by the Bernie Sanders, by the Van Hollens. They all say the same thing, and it's vile. We had Swalwell say today that if they take the House, people are going to pay a price for this. They're going to go after the members of ICE. They're going to go after ICE as an institution. These people are the enemy within. And the enemy within list is getting very, very long, and the organizations are getting very, very big. Very big. Go ahead, please.
No way out of this. There's no voting our way out of this. We can't wait till November. There's no waiting to the ballot box. We need to get to the bullet box. That's the only way. If there was another way, I'd be advocating for it. I've spoken peacefully. I've marched peacefully. I marched without Sharpton. I marched on Washington. I've been peaceful. I've acted peacefully. The time for peace is over. The time for any means necessary.
All right, so this guy's stepped over the line of the First Amendment. He has been now saying that he intends to use a gun to shoot ICE agents. He should be arrested on the spot. Arrested on the spot. They can keep talking about January 6th all they want. But we're having a January 6th every damn day with these Democrats and their militia. That's what this is. That's their militia. Many of them are paid for. Some of them are paid for by billionaires. Some of them by foreign countries like Qatar and others. Money washed through phony organizations. There's all kinds of organizations that are organizing right now as you're listening to this program, when you sleep tonight, when you get up in the morning to overthrow this country. Groups like CAIR. That's what they're doing. Now here's the mayor of Minneapolis, where I believe this thug is from, and listen to how they talk. And so they get a reaction like this would-be killer. Cut 3, go.
I stand by my statements. We stand by our statements. I'll look back to what I said. What I said was it was reckless abuse of power. Yes, it was a reckless abuse of power. I said that what the narrative that the administration was pushing in the immediacy following this shooting was garbage and false and BS. It was. I stand by every one of those.
Oh, well, good for you. The guy's quoting himself, which is always very interesting. He stands by every one of them. But he's a liar. The more we're learning, the more troubling this whole damn thing is, quite frankly. The more troubling the whole damn thing is. In fact, the New York Post, which is really a great newspaper, Renee Nichols Goods, that's the woman who was shot, her wife screams, "Drive, baby, drive," just seconds before ICE agents shoot her in dramatic footage taken from his phone. So in other words, Good's wife screamed at Good to drive, baby, drive. See the point? Renee Nicole Good's wife was antagonizing ICE agents and even urged her to drive, baby, drive, just moments before the fatal shooting in Minneapolis, according to shocking new video taken on the agent's own cell phone. The video, filmed by Agent Jonathan Ross on Wednesday and obtained by Alpha News, shows the heated interaction between the Goods in the lead-up to the shooting. Renee can be seen behind the driver's seat of the plum-colored Honda Pilot, while her wife, Rebecca, stands in the street next to the car. A dog is also sitting in the back seat, peering out an open window. As Ross records the interaction, that's the ICE agent, Renee says to him, "That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you," before her spouse starts jawing at the federal officer as whistles and sirens can be heard in the background. "It's okay. We don't change our license plates every morning, just so you know, Rebecca said. It'll be the same plate when you talk to us later. That's fine, U.S. citizens. You want to come at us? I say you go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead. Rebecca sneers at Ross while filming on her own phone outside the car. Rebecca then tries to get back inside the passenger side as an agent orders, get out of the effing car, and Renee, the driver, backs up. As the car is in motion, Rebecca, this is her wife, who's still out of the car, can be heard shouting, "Drive, baby, drive, drive," before Renee peels off and clips Ross, prompting him to open fire. A male can then be heard saying, "Effing B." A video taken in the aftermath of the shooting showed Rebecca sobbing as she cried, "It's my fault." My fault, she says. Why? Because she urged her wife to take off and drive while the police were trying to stop her. She said, "I made her come down here. It's my fault. They shot my wife." Lefty activists in the Twin Cities are also remaining defiant, insisting that the shooting was cold-blooded, despite the new footage showing the harassment and confrontation leading up to the incident. You know, if ICE agents were interested in murdering people in cold blood, they wouldn't need all this to happen in this car in order to do it, would they, Mr. Producer? They would just start shooting people, wouldn't they? But that's not what they're doing. Pretty outrageous. And so they spin tails. They spin tails. Like, I don't think verbal abuse is a problem. It doesn't warrant shooting at somebody, a 73-year-old continued. This is part of what they're not equipped to deal with, she said about ICE. You know, at the split second, ladies and gentlemen, if you're standing there, you put yourself in the shoes of that ICE agent, and you have another ICE agent who's reaching in the car trying to turn it off, and she backs up suddenly and then pulls forward suddenly, really, foot on the gas pedal, listening to her wife, and doesn't front on hit the ICE agent, but certainly, how should I put it? Certainly touches him. A big vehicle, you know, it's worth a ton. It's a ton. And he shoots. That's not the way people are supposed to conduct themselves, is it? And it turns out that she's like the leader of the Fight ICE movement in that community. When Elizabeth Warren swore to us that she'd never been an activist of any kind. Well, apparently she was. Of course it's horrible what took place. If you're a human being, you know it's horrible. You feel it's horrible. But why do other human beings put themselves in this position? And it's funny how I'm speaking now. They never speak this way about the victims of illegal aliens. They act like they don't even exist. They blow them off. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
If your credit card balance is freaking you out after all the holiday spending, I have something that can save you money right now. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk Saver Plan. Just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super-fast nationwide 5G network. As a veteran-led company that cares about giving back to those who serve, if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. The easiest way to free up cash flow is to reduce your monthly recurring bills. Start with cutting overpriced wireless and switching to my wireless company. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and make the switch today in as little as 10 minutes. Again, talk, text, and data just $20 a month. That's puretalk.com/Levin, Levin, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk is America's wireless company. So here we are. The latest We told you about Nicole. As you learn more and more, and first of all, I'm not one of these that takes joy in this, if you can tell. I don't take joy in any of it. But I fault the Democrat Party and the left for creating this scenario, and they keep at it. You know, it's like the assassination attempts on Donald Trump. They don't stop calling him names. It's like the horrendous assassination of Charlie Kirk. So many of these people, too many of these people, the things that they say, and so it's just appalling. It's appalling what's happened to our culture and our society with these people, and then to listen to the woke right neo-Nazis. Neo-fascists. They don't like being called Nazis. To listen to them and the stuff that they say. The rotting of the culture is just unbelievable, which is why I'm going to push back. Whether it's Fridays with Hannity, whether it's this program, whether it's my own Fox shows, and now the podcast. I got to do it. I don't know what else to do in order to fight these forces. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. The Power Hour, the last hour of the show in the week. Our number is 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I wanted to bring my buddy Jim Trusty on the program of the IFRA law firm. Jim, how are you?
Hey, I'm good, Mark. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and appreciate all you do out there. And I wanted to bring you in here for your expertise. So we see what's happened in Minnesota. We see the ICE agent, and we see more evidence coming out. When we first heard this story, it was that the car driver, the lady, was just minding her own business and got lost and so forth, had dropped off her kid. Now we know she's like one of the leading opponents of ICE and what was taking place there. And what do you make of this?
Well, I kind of look at it on two levels, Mark. I mean, the first is purely what I've lived and breathed in law enforcement. You know, as a prosecutor for 27 years, we'd have police shootings. When I was at the organized crime section for DOJ as the chief, we participated in the FBI's critical analysis of shooting events. So you kind of look at it from a lawyer's eyes, and that means you look at it in the context of what is the training, what's a reasonable use of deadly force, what was the agent facing at the time that he drew his weapon. And I think from that lens, if you try to be kind of objective and clinical, you look at it and you say, this is a woman that's wielding a 2-ton weapon, and she's ignoring lawful commands to stop and get out of the car, and she backs up and then moves directly towards the agent who has to make that split-second decision. So, look, I think in all cases, the smart thing to do is to present it to a grand jury with use of force expertise and the videotape, and get the community to sign off on this as a clean shooting, an unfortunate, tragic one, but a clean shooting. But the second part of all this, to me, Mark, is kind of the greater cultural context. I mean, I am outraged, not by even her and not by the agent, but by politicians stoking the flames to this moment, prejudging it, calling it murder, or making announcements like this clown in Philadelphia that if ICE comes to my city, they're going to do time. I mean, these are the people that are enabling or validating the kind of self-righteous lunacy of the left when it comes to protesting ICE. And I think it's all, you know, a corollary of Trump derangement syndrome. It's all about how they hate Trump and they have these dark fantasies of living in a Nazi regime. But it's endangering ICE agents. That same ICE agent had been dragged by a car 50 yards about a week ago. They're under fire, and it's going to end, maybe not end, but it's going to culminate in some sort of funeral for an ICE agent that could have been avoided. But we have irresponsible politicians and muckrakers that want this violence, that want this disobedience, and they think somehow it's a winning political message to do it.
You know, you make a great point about muckrakers and so forth, and they are still using this vile language, really promoting violence. I mean, even now, you haven't heard these politicians say, okay, everybody calm down, back off, there'll be an investigation and so forth. These governors, these mayors, these congressmen and senators, they just keep hammering away and hammering away. Now, let's talk about the legal aspects of this. I'm sure there's going to be a very thorough investigation of the ICE agent. They're going to look at all the videos. They're going to try and make some kind of an assessment and so forth. And in the case of the woman who was killed, they're going to take a very close look at that and so forth and so on. So how will this proceed beyond that?
Well, you know, there's a very natural component of this that's unfortunate, which is witnesses will quickly change their stories. And some of that's just kind of a natural human tendency to misremember or to focus on the wrong thing. But, you know, this reminds me of Ferguson, where you had this myth of, you know, hands up, don't shoot. It was just an abject lie. So when your audience of viewers at the time of the incident is largely politicized, we're going to get some crazy stories. But you have to sift through that. You have to interview a lot of people. You have to obviously look at the logistics of the shoot, the crime scene investigation that you do on the trajectory of the bullets, and you do the interviews of law enforcement. And so I think that there will be, hopefully, a fair shake for this agent of doing what you normally do in any sort of fatal shooting. But, you know, the politics is infectious, and I worry that a Minnesota grand jury and the climate that they're living up there with the irresponsibility of a beta male mayor posing as an alpha male these days, and Tim Walz, you know, raining thunder about how this was murder. Yeah, I'm very concerned about the process being infected by the politics, either overtly or less overtly, and that could be a real problem for this agent.
Mm-hmm. And so this agent will be targeted now. And I played statements by another one of these activists who said that he's bringing a gun next time, even though he doesn't have a permit, and that enough of this talk, that people are being targeted. And now we have to, if they want a civil war, then we're going to have a civil war. And if they want shootings, there's going to be shootings. This is one guy. Now, let me ask you about this for the sake of the audience. What can be done about that guy, about what he said? Things can be done, right?
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, he's given you probable cause to go search for his gun by admitting that he has a gun illegally. And certainly it's worth putting eyes on him in terms of surveillance for the immediate future. I mean, but, you know, again, this goes to the heart of what we're both talking about, that in the old days, you would have politicians of either party call for calm and be responsible and say, let's not judge this yet. And even not that long ago, if you remember the young lady that was shot in a police search warrant in, I think it was Lexington or Louisville, Kentucky, and there was great concern about a cross-racial shooting by the police officer, and he was only charged with a misdemeanor. But you had an attorney general, an African-American attorney general, who spoke eloquently and lengthily at a press conference announcing the lack of any sort of murder or homicide charge. And then he actually had his use of force expert answer questions for another hour. And I thought that is the transparency we need. We need professional law enforcement people that look at it objectively, make themselves available for questions, and soothe the maddening crowd. And right now, you've just got emotion and people that thrive on that, people that are already spending their day, not with their 3 children like this woman, but spending their day harassing and obstructing ICE agents like it's some sort of higher calling. So I'm really concerned that we're not going to be able to stop the tide unless we have some sort of bipartisan sense of patriotism and responsibility that emerges from the left, and no sign that it's happening.
No, it's getting worse. As a matter of fact, I've talked to a number of moderate Democrats, and they're good people, types of people I've grown up with, you probably grew up with. And I talked to them on Sunday. It'll be played. And I said to them, what's going on? And they said they're losing their party to these elements, these radical elements. They don't represent the vast majority of the Democrat Party membership, you know, blue-collar workers and stuff like that, but they're controlling the levers of power. Now, what the hell do you do about that, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I subscribe a little bit to the great man theory of history. You know, you being a great one, you know what I'm talking about. That you need someone to step up from the other side of the aisle. And, you know, when I was kind of growing up in my formative years, you could look at various Democrats and know they're going to take the right tack, a responsible, moderate tack, whether it's a Sam Nunn or a Henry Hyde or whoever. And I just don't see the courage coming from the national figures in the Democratic Party to stand up. I mean, not everyone's called this murder and said that this was an outrageous, evil act, but you don't hear a whole bunch of voices saying, calm down and stop prejudging it because it's an ICE agent. Let's be fair. And I think you need some of that to start to at least backtrack in the minds of these kind of ritualistic protesters. They're probably still carrying Palestinian flags when they show up in Minnesota, and they're just kind of veering from protest to protest because they hate what's happened with this country with Trump being elected. And I think, you know, this thriving on the lowest level of emotionality is not doing them or law enforcement any good, and somebody's got to call them out beyond just conservatives.
All right, hold on, Jim. I want to take a short break and come right back with you. I have other questions, too. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
We're here with our friend Jim Trusty, outstanding lawyer with the Iffer Law Firm. Jim, let me ask you a question. People come into this country. They're in front of a yeshiva and a synagogue last night in New York. They get the right to petition right up to the front steps of these buildings. And they are protesting for Hamas. Openly Hamas, a terrorist organization on our terrorist watch list. Shouldn't we figure out as best we can who these people are and deport those who are deportable right on as soon as we possibly can?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just do not understand the defenders of an entity that has always said what they stand for. I mean, they literally have in their charter a desire to annihilate the Jewish race and the state of Israel. And that carries over to us, Big Satan, here in the United States. So, you know, this idea that free speech means freedom of access, where we can't touch people that don't even have a legal right to be here, or that we can't do what's called an accosting under law enforcement, or it doesn't trigger constitutional issues because you're simply asking them to identify themselves. You know, we have politicians that kind of force this hands-off belief that you're not allowed to even investigate or ask questions or check the jail list in New York for illegal aliens that could be subject to a detainer and eventual remover. And it's a suicidal empathy. You know, I've heard that phrase recently. I think that's kind of right. It's a culture that is willing to kind of self-immolate rather than defend itself. And, you know, Hamas, it's just an invitation for violence to have Hamas standing anywhere near a synagogue, and I'd like to see a more aggressive tack from law enforcement, to be sure.
So just to be clear to the audience, do you have a First Amendment right to go up that close to a building, to use bullhorns and to be blowing whistles and so forth and so on? There is a point at which there are ordinances and other things that you violate, no?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a First Amendment right to fully disrupt the conversations and religious practice of someone inside a closed building. And so, you know, I do think that there's some shenanigans there in terms of the permission slip in New York, because, again, I'm a big fan of free speech. I think it's an incredible thing. And free speech does normally mean unpopular speech. That's what needs to be protected. But that doesn't mean you have a right of disruption. And this feels like disruption and intimidation rather than simply a fair exercise of free speech.
Mm-hmm. What do you make of the fact that this Mondami appointed as the corporate counsel? That means the top lawyer for the administration in New York, an individual that represented an al-Qaeda, a terrorist, an individual who represented Khalil, an individual who comes out of Syria, who who gives a speech just days before his appointment talking about you need to really follow Sarsour and CAIR and these radical groups with ties to Hamas and Muslim Brotherhood and all the rest. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I've had some firsthand experience dealing with CAIR because I represented an individual at a university who was really treated quite differently because of his Jewish faith and his concerns about October 7th, while, the same school was allowing for river to the sea type protests to take place. So, I'm with you that these are front organizations. I mean, look, the whole situation with that mayor, my only struggle is whether I should be more alarmed by the communism or the jihadism. Mm-hmm. And because they're together in him, in a single smiling entity. And I felt from the beginning, this is a guy that it's just an insidious development. It's not foolishness. It's not just a stupid temporary, let's see if communism is as bad as it has historically been across the world. It was a guy who really wanted to smile his way into office and inject some pretty horrible elements into the New York City life stream. And, and I'm afraid when you look at things like New York City, when you look at what's happened in Minnesota, when you look at some places in Michigan, that there's a toehold, a beachhead that's being formed of kind of above the law protected jihadi-oriented behavior. And that's a long-term, deep threat to our civilization, and I feel like it's taking root. And there's a lot of enablers. When you change your state flag to look like the Somali flag, you're sending quite a signal in Minnesota. When you elect a communist, but who immediately turns to these kinds of radical picks around him, we shouldn't be just focusing on could he get us a free bus ride. We should be focusing on what is this guy trying to do to capitalism, democracy, and Judeo-Christian values. And, he's getting a free pass so far.
You look at what's happened in Europe, Jim. You look at what's happening, every major city in Britain. You see what's happening in France. It's not just there. It's all over that continent now, where they had open borders, fairly left-wing governments. You have these imams, you have so-called Islamist scholars writing about revolution by immigration, and that's exactly what's happening in our country and other countries. Is the West unable to combat this, given the fact of our emphasis on the individual and liberty and due process and these other things, and for the Islamists, it's easy to exploit this in order to advance their agenda?
That's certainly not a totally unrealistic take on where we are. I think it's clear. My view is that we are under siege. And you add into it, by the way, the low birth rate of places like France, and the numbers are outrageous. You see, law enforcement or zones in Paris where law enforcement doesn't even go because the neighborhoods are kind of barricaded against them philosophically and in terms of the background. And it doesn't even get reported when you have hundreds of cars being set fire in Paris anymore as a way of Islamic protest. It just doesn't even make the news. And I think, to me, that's the heart of a lot of the problem in the U.S. is that we've got a relentless march of media that ignores serious threats and instead injects their own political viewpoints into everything. And if you look at it objectively, I think there's fair reason to be concerned. And it's not every person that reads the Quran. It's not every person that's a Muslim, but there's a sizable element that are looking to impose their system on our country. And it's just at odds with our traditions, with our spiritual backgrounds, and our Constitution. So, yeah, I think it's a real threat. It doesn't mean we can't fight back, but we have to be clear-eyed, and we can't be cowed into submission by a media that favors this type of behavior or that perhaps is afraid of alienating people that they disagree with.
You make the point that all Muslims, most Muslims are not this way. There's 2 billion Muslims. If 1% is this way, that's 2 million. And that's 2 million too many. That's a lot of people. Jim Trusty, I want to thank you. Have a happy new year. You're a really good man and a good friend. We appreciate you, brother.
You too, brother. Great talking to you. Talk soon.
You too. God bless. We'll be right back.
The Mike Levin Show. This is the home of the July 4th Americans. And you can call at 877-381-3811.
All right, let's take a few calls here. We have Diane, Rochester, New York, the great WHAM. How are you?
Yes, hello.
Hello. Hello.
Okay. I have a couple of quick things that I really want to tell you that I'm heartsick about. And,
you know what Mo used to say on the Three Stooges? Remember that show, The Three Stooges?
Yeah.
He used to say, take your time, but hurry up. So we are on a clock, but go ahead.
Yes. Okay. The timing of this with our 250th anniversary, the stirring up of anti-American sentiment. Mm-hmm. Our enemies are full of envy. They always have been. And you, as loving history, and myself as well, if you look at the great civilizations, when man becomes God and believes it, man versus God, you absolutely have a societal degeneracy. And what we are witnessing here with our politicians, who are so easily bought by our enemies, is the worship of the golden calf. So we are looking at a lot of issues referring to faith. I have a sick feeling that the horrors will increase if we don't get a handle on this. These useful idiots, including the mainstream talking heads, okay, what is to prevent a storming of these media studios with the triumph of evil, and people will finally see the horrors with beheadings in the streets, beheadings on television. I am so sick at what is headed our way. Where are our politicians? They know that they have the political platform, and these ignorant people, they are giving them the dog whistle to do what is called the wet work. The wet work, whatever happened to first do no harm. From running around and being involved in New York City with various situations, permits were required for filming and commercials. You do not block the streets because of emergency situations. You are put in a confined area. We are losing control. Mark, keep exposing all of this, but we are facing something that will affect our lives.
And let me just say this. You're totally right. And part of the problem is the Democrat Party working with the media, and the Democrat Party, when they elect people like Mondami and Bernie Sanders and AOC and Tlaib and Omar, and the list is a long one, Raskin, these are people who get into the system to destroy the system. And so now you have a mayor in the biggest city in America, and he wants to destroy it. Now, he pretends he doesn't. Of course, they throw out bromides and so forth and so on, but he is there to destroy that city. And that's what he's going to do if he has anything to say about it, and he has a lot to say about it. And the Democrat Party, filled with quislings, pretty much just stands by, and these elements are within the Democrat Party because they see it as the softest of the two parties. Diane, thank you. Very, very good call. I got to move on. Lee, Las Vegas, Nevada, on the Mark Levin app. How are you, Lee?
Yes, good. Thanks.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, Mark, great one. Listen, I just want to wish you and your family and your wonderful staff a happy, healthy New Year.
Thank you. One of my favorite cities, by the way.
Well, thank you, and you're always welcome here. I'm an eternal optimist, and I think the best way to defuse the situation in Minneapolis would be to have Mayor Fry, Governor Waltz, Kristi Noem, and Tom Holman attend her funeral.
Yeah, well, that's all well and good, but I don't think that's going to change a damn thing. I really don't. In Waltz and this guy Fry, you're talking about ideologues, hardcore left-wing ideologues, and I honestly don't think it'll change a damn thing, and it wouldn't change a damn thing. And I think the language that the Democrats are using and it's being amplified by the media is so bad. I actually think it led to the assassination attempts against our president. I think it contributed to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And they just keep at it. They just keep at it over and over and over again. And I think it now includes the woke right neo-fascists. To me, the fascists and the Marxists and the Islamists, they're all anti-Americans. And it is a huge problem. All right, my friend. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it. I'm not trying to be a downer. The weekend's coming. I want you to be happy. I want you to have a good time. It's very important to do that, to keep your mental health and keep your family together and your physical health, too. So we shouldn't deny ourselves that. But I know many of you, like me, you stay up at night thinking about this stuff some nights. It's very tough. And that's why you're so great. That's why you're patriots. That's why you're in this audience. And I'm blessed to have you here. Because this isn't something that you can just blow over. It's very daunting what's taking place. And it's very complicated to fix it. And we're now watching, let's be honest, we're now watching one Western country after another be devoured by this. Britain is gone. France is gone. A number of these smaller European countries, they're gone. They're gone. Hungary's not gone because Orban wouldn't put up with it. And there you have a handful of these people, and of course they're attacked as right-wingers. They're not right-wingers. They're nationalists for their country. They're not trying to impose anything on anybody else. They're not trying to hurt people. They're trying to protect their people and their culture. From what? From an enemy that's trying to destroy them. That's what's happening. And we have a political party in this country that has never embraced Americanism, and that's the Democrat Party. It never has. That doesn't mean Democrats per se, non-elected Democrats, don't embrace Americanism. They certainly do. Many of them do. But that's not the problem. It's the problem that run the damn thing. Those who run it. It's like I just said with Jim Trusty. You got 2 billion Muslims. Let's say 10% are radicalized. And in this country, I think it's even a bigger percentage by what I'm saying. But let's say it's 10%. That's 200 million. Let's say it's 5%. 5%, right, Mr. Producer? That's 10 million. That's a lot. And that's the problem. Not the majority, the minority. And they're the ones apparently who are coming into our country. Not all, of course, but so many. I see these imams, the things that they're saying in California, New Jersey, and Michigan, and other places. Northern Virginia. It's affecting our demographics, affecting our politics. It's affecting our tranquility and security. It's here already. And it's going to expand with the birth rate and the politics of it. There's no question in my mind. We've got one president who's trying to deal with it, Donald Trump. I don't know if anybody else can or will. I think no Democrat can or will. None. You look at this guy, Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. He's trying to position himself as a moderate, reasonable. He's nothing of the sort. He's been funding the Islamists in Philadelphia. So who's left? Fetterman. Fetterman's not running for national office. They're going to try and take him out in the Democrat primary. You know, they want to purify their party. So what? So they can continue to move towards the Marxist and Islamist left? Yes. And in our party, those of us who are Republicans, we have this poison. Carlson, Kelly, Bannon, others pushing Fuentes out there and so forth. These aren't conservatives. These aren't constitutionalists. These are reprobates. These are grifters. These are woke, Reich, anti-Americans, in my humble opinion, based on what they're pushing. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Don't forget, Life, Liberty, and Levin tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We got two great shows, two very, very important monologues, and wonderful guests as well. And so I know you're going to enjoy it very, very much. Now, the weekend is here effectively when this program ends. And I want to touch on something I just mentioned. We are an extended family here. Some of us have been together a very long time, some of us not so long. It's important to keep your physical and mental health. It's important to be with family if you're with a family, and if you're by yourself, to do something to engage you. It's very, very important. It's also important to read books that matter, from authors that matter. It's important, yes, to have some time to yourself and think about what's going on in the country. What do you think about it? Is there something you can help do about it? Even if it means talking to your own family and kids and other families and at church or synagogue or wherever and so forth, to make sure everybody's alert to what's taking place. Weekends are very important for those of us who don't work on the weekends. Unfortunately, I work some weekends, but most people work during the week. It's an important time, and that's why I think most people are very happy. So enjoy the sports with your kids, enjoy life, and keep an eye out for what's going on around us too, and what we can do about it. We go to America every Friday in honor of you. Here we go. week is officially over and the weekend has begun right now. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, and our truckers. Don't forget, folks, set your DVR if you can't watch live. Life, Liberty, and Levin, 8 p.m. Eastern, tomorrow night and Sunday night. Good night, Spritey and Griffey and Pepsi and Smokey. Good night, Zelda and Gigi and Indy and Patton and Rory. Good night, Marty and my little Barney. Good night, Dad, and good night, Mom. We're doing everything we can. Trust me, I think you'd be proud of what we're trying to do and shocked at what's taking place. And good night, Leo and Joe and Bernard and Teddy and Lou and so many other great patriots who are no longer with us, many of whom are in your family. Have a wonderful weekend. Don't forget, tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Life, Liberty, and Levin, and the next night on Sunday. I'll see you then. Be safe, and God bless you.